I've skipped only a few paragraphs to get right to Obama. Even a cursory examination of the most powerful leaders who reached the very top in America, President Barack Obama and the most famous living U.S. General, ex-CIA Director David Petraeus, both illustrate as psychopathic poster boys what has gone wrong, what has most gone wrong in America. The psychopathic traits and tendencies of their actions, misdeeds, and public records will be examined next. Barack Hussein Obama is a Machiavellian, pathological liar of the first order. His mounting pile of shattered and broken promises to the American people used during his meteoric rise to power from relative obscurity as a largely unknown junior senator from Illinois a dozen years ago to becoming the most powerful leader, albeit as elected figurehead frontman to the true power of the oligarchy that owns him, in the most powerful nation on earth is the stuff of urban psychopathic legends. We all remember the man who captured the hopeful, yearning hearts of so many Americans who were so exhausted and demoralized by the psychopaths Bush and Cheney and their brutal, evil, psychopathic agenda. Obama, campaigning on his mantra of hope, appeared on the national scene like a desperately needed breath of fresh air. The first African-American president rode in on his white horse wave of hope that weary America had finally found its first populist champion of the people since FDR and Lincoln's 47 years ago days. Of course, Obama is but one man in a morally bankrupted, highly dysfunctional political system with two corrosive and corrupt parties representing the same oligarchic interests whose political agenda was and remains simply to play partisan politics and cancel each other out as the most lame and ineffective congressional body in U.S. history. So our fantasy of Wonder Boy riding his white horse into the White House on America's hopes and dreams realistically was but a setup for failure from the get-go. From the populist point of view, obviously not from the oligarchs' point of view, who were carefully grooming him years prior to his meteoric rise. After all, Barack Obama was a man who felt destined for historic greatness, and as such would do anything to become arguably the most powerful man on earth. His lust for power, even as the thoroughly compromised, sold-out, half-black frontman to his puppet slave masters, was certainly unquestionable from the start. That particular criteria of his psychopathic checklist has clearly been met in ACEs. Returning to Obama as a pathological liar, Americans were hoping that he would keep his most important promise of all, that he would be honest in contrast with the ultra-secretive yet not-so-hidden war crime agenda that became an in-our-face, anything but a skeleton in the Bush-Cheney closet, not even their inside 9/11 job. With those neocons, we all knew what we were up against with their oppressive fascist regime, but Obama was the great black hope and champion of the little people. So his betrayal of our trust was taken personally. We believed his promise that he would be different in his vow to maintain ultra-transparency and the commitment of always being open and honest with the American people who elected him. This was his biggest, far-from-white lie. As the most secretive, aggressively reactionary, pathologically lying president in U.S. history, it is his most sinister and unforgivably darkest sin of them all. He has blocked more requests filed under the Freedom of Information Act than any prior president in history. He has also declared war on the truth in general and on honest journalists and whistleblowers in particular, harassing, indicting, and imprisoning more of them on Espionage Act charges than all previous administrations combined. Like all of our public servants from Congress to the Supreme Court, Obama swore to uphold the U.S. Constitution, yet they have all failed us miserably, constantly violating and running roughshod over U.S. citizens' rights to privacy, search and seizure, and due process protection. That is his second most egregious lie. Under his regime, Obama has not only run with the fascist torch handed off to him by his predecessors, but he has rammed tyranny and oppression down America's throat. now left gasping for air, with our long lost and stolen liberties and fast-dying freedoms laying in ashes amidst the Orwellian nightmare come true of the oligarchic, militarized police state. Another of Obama's burn-in-hell lies is that he was supposed to be the prudent, thoughtful, calm, and cool man of reason who was supposed to restore America's goodwill standing with the rest of the world and finally stop the forever war agenda and empire aggression once and for all. Instead of Mr. Psychopathic cool under pressure, Obama again has only accelerated the megalomaniacal war policies of his predecessors. He has our nation still mired in another costly counterinsurgency war defeat in Afghanistan that has lasted longer than any previous U.S. war in history. He has polarized the world, causing the next Cold War after causing a coup in another sovereign nation, Ukraine, disposing another democratically elected president. He has only continued on steroids the disastrous imperialistic neocon policy of destabilizing targeted nations for more regime changes around the world. Obama has gone after any independent country after independent country that happens to refuse to be subjugated and exploited by the world's only superpower bully. And Obama has only continued the psychopathic policy of using one-time allies, like Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, Mubarak, Putin, just to name a few, and then turning on them one by one whenever they have been used up. Instead of bringing war to an end as promised, Obama has chosen to expand special operations with unlimited deep taxpayer-funded pockets, fighting dirty little secret wars around the world in at least 134 nations. Then when it comes to our supposed al-Qaeda enemy, he has betrayed the American people once again by misusing their hard-earned tax dollars to finance and support low-life al-Qaeda mercenaries in other disastrous losing cause. In Syria, Obama never fails to use his personal favorite brand of modern warfare, the drone, as his excuse to kill not only innocent civilians around the world, but even threatens to use them to kill Americans on American soil in the probable near future. That is how bold-faced his Machiavellian, arrogant, self-righteous, godlike, in-our-face, abusive power of betrayal toward his own citizenry has exponentially grown. And then there are those not so hidden, out-of-the-closet, scandalous cover-ups that just keep proliferating before our very eyes during his lame duck term. I'll continue in the next video.